Welcome, everyone. Dr. Thor here. Get ready for Gnosis. Well, I want to talk about consciousness machines. As usual, common science is catching up to what I've been teaching for many, many years. And that is the fact of the interaction of human consciousness with machine technology. Now, this requires a very elaborate and difficult process that over the last 40 years I have been able to um, perfect through my different psychotronic, radionic, scalar type machines. And with my new tech, this is now a reality. And of course, it's in its beginning stages, but it is awesome already. This is not based on psychic power, another terrible word that has been fouled by common people out there, particularly the right wing religious nut jobs who somehow think that because you have some abilities and can control your life, that you're somehow evil. Because after all, you're supposed to be a slave to their gods, because that's why they're against this. Matter of fact, I knew a person who was one of these type of people, and they didn't even know how to spell psychic because they considered it was evil. This is pretty bad. But psychic is a bad term. I like to call it the biophysical, comes from the Russians. I think that's a much better term because of it. And we run into also, using certain terms does trigger things in people we have to understand. But we've now come from that regular physicists, particularly those people who are very advanced and who have really created everything in the world, which is the Roman Greek culture, is now coming out with the physicist Federico Fagon. Unfortunate name, but he designed the mass production of mass produce a semiconductor and has been working in that field for some time. And of course, it takes a particular type of mind. We're not going to get that type of mindset or even come to these conclusions when we deal with cultures that come from oppressive thought forms as we get from the Middle European Arabs. So we have to be very careful. We're not going to get anything from these people of any worth. But, I've talked about consciousness. Now, consciousness is not psychic power. We have to understand consciousness is a much higher energetic level. And this consciousness is very, very powerful and can penetrate anything. Now, they've done a lot of studies on all of these things in terms of that. And there's been 150 years of work on the biophysical slash psychic. We know this is real, and of course, we now know from people who are now contacting extraterrestrials and everything else that this is the way all of very advanced civilizations work. They work telepathically. This is nothing new. Yet your backward scientists still want to talk nonsense about all this. Now, consciousness is a very, very high level mixing your, basically, I like to call it the soul force. It's a very powerful force within you that has been given to you through the process of being a human and being empowered by the basically what we would consider a God form. But it's really not about that. Everybody has this to a degree, but you have to develop it. Nobody can do these things or have great psychic or other powers, abilities, so to speak, unless they are at a high level of consciousness, meaning you have to be working past the common day to day interpretations of life. Now, this is more than just understanding the way things work. Common day to day life is having a PhD in physics. That means you've been brainwashed and you are lost as well. It's not just being ignorant. Now, being ignorant because you haven't studied anything is a bad place to be. And most people are lazy and they don't want to learn anything. That's why we live in an urban legend. So you learn by, what was in that movie? A bird in my class told me this. This is how you learn because you don't. Now you get the other type, the pseudo-intellectuals, who want to study what's taught to them in bogus schools and then regurgitate it on tests and other things. And they are then rewarded for their brainwashing. Both of these are about at the same level. The problem is that you're learning nothing if you go through a system and are just brainwashed with dogma. And really, it's dogma. And what we really know from this time is that all that we believe in, Newtonian physics, Einstein, etc., is all a lie. It was a crude, dirty, filthy base to work from. But we need to go way past that now. Our technology is really crude and always has been. The bottom line is that we still, as a culture, are a failure. We have not been able to handle our critical need of having cheap, renewable energy and the fact of being able to cure ourselves of diseases. We are dying in bigger and bigger batches where it's going to be almost half of the population of the world will have diabetes and other problems that we're running into. We're dying younger and younger because of this. So we're supposed to give credit to science, to give it to government, to give it to anybody. And we can throw in all the other pseudo-intellectual religious people. What have they ever done? We've had Christianity, we've had over 2,000 years of Christianity. 2,000 years. I think that's a pretty good test. Nothing. 4,000 Judaism. Nothing. 1,500 Islam. Nothing. We have absolutely nothing. And these cultures are keeping us enslaved. When we jump over to the Scientists, we run into the problem of that they are just teaching dogma that mean nothing. I mean, most physicists are so disgusted with the field that they are just really talking nonsense, or even like the infamous Sean Carroll, who now has, because he has no answers scientifically, he thinks he's a philosopher. He thinks by learning physics that he has somehow figured out the world. Yet he doesn't even understand the basics. He doesn't even know how the basic biophysical processes works, and he's the first one to say none of this is real. Well, first of all, it shows you what kind of a bad researcher you are, Sean. 150 years of research, all sorts of research has been going on in this area and has proven these kind of abilities beyond a shadow of a doubt. Not to mention that a whole bunch of these energies are constantly demonstrated by people around the world, and particularly in the Qigong community and in general from the Chinese and Orientals who have worked that can actually project energy. And of course, you think this is all nonsense. Yet, there's literally been thousands of years of this. And while a lot of it tends to get Hollywood, because everybody wants to be Hollywood, we have serious problems. But even nutjob conservative Christians like Mel Gibson, Mr. IQ smaller than his shoe size, saw these abilities demonstrated to him. So, I mean, if we continue to work from this idiot level and continue to pay these physicists hundreds of thousands of dollars and make them rich for being losers, well, that's the problem. The two problems are, first of all, we live in an urban myth. You think something is real because you've never really studied it. Most likely a teacher gave you some complete and total nonsense. This is part of it. You've then read nonsense. You've had people con you or trying to sell you products. This is the problem. So you believe in the urban myth of life. Most things can be found out pretty easily. The minute I started looking up things, I found out what the real story was. And it's not like it's being hidden. It's just that you are being manipulated. So this is one of the big things of living in an urban myth. And it is really terrible. And that's where everybody comes from. So we have to be clarified of that. The other thing is that as a society, we reward failure. If you fail, you're patted on the back, given a raise, and told, go on and try better next time. Well, that may be good if you drop a ball in a baseball game, but when it comes to life, we've had enough of patting on the back and thanking people for their, quote, service when they don't do anything. Not only don't do anything, they're failures, and they never improve themselves because they never pay the price for their failure. We cannot keep rewarding people, no matter what field they're coming from, if they fail. Plain and simple. They should be discouraged from even continuing in their career. Let's get some new blood in there who knows what they can do. And this is in every field of life. And that's why we have a bunch of junk out there. We have services that don't work, and we have problems that never seem to end, even though we throw billions of dollars at all of these. Trillions is now up to. If we keep rewarding failure, what do you think we're going to get? Why would you work? You're gonna get a raise because you didn't do your job right. Oh, isn't that nice? Well, I shouldn't even show up at my job. I'll just ask for more money. After all, I'm doing a service for you. So this is the kind of nonsense we run into. So what's been happening now with different, particularly in the physics field, which is starting to become more and more understanding of the dead end they're in, and they have to go into consciousness. And this has been Federico Fagan, the Italian physicist, who unfortunately is now, in his 80s, has written books and talking about how the quantum physics fields of energy, which I've been talking about for many years, are very, very conscious. They have reality. Now, the problem with science is they even want to argue about what is conscious and what not is conscious. I mean, they can't even agree on the reality of it. Reminds me of the EU, who took over 10 years to define chocolate. Good organization. So the whole idea is this is the kind of stuff you run into. So it's really sad that we get into this, but consciousness is the key. It is not psychic entirely. Consciousness is a high-level process that goes beyond your rudimentary psychic abilities, which everybody has to a degree, a low degree, but everybody has it. Intuition, you get a gut feeling. Everybody talks like this. Even the most ignorant type of people who believe in superstitions talk about gut feelings and other things. Well, these are psychic intuitions. So you are feeling something's wrong. The entire universe works on psychic power, consciousness, powers. Now, consciousness empowers your psychic abilities to a much higher, purer, and better level. So, everything has consciousness. And this is a real problem there, which they want to rate things, to say that, they've said this for years, animals are stupid. Well, you have obviously never been around animals. They're extremely intelligent. The fact that they can't drive a car or read a book is a little bit ridiculous. What is a dog going to do with being able to read a book? They don't even have hands to turn the pages. And certainly they can't make a book. So to think that you should be doing something that you have no capacity to do is absurd. And to judge them like that, if you judge an elephant by its ability to climb a tree, well, you're going to be thinking it's a stupid animal. And of course, this is where we're at. So this kind of thinking, of course, has permeated classical bozo science. Now, I hate to even talk in scientific lingo when I teach my classes in scalar energy. The great path course that I have that lays everything out. This fantastic course, which is all in audio. It's easy to use and it's available to you. This lays the foundation of life and talks about how to use consciousness machines in your life. So it's something that everybody should be joining, and it's you get permanent access to this course, which information is added frequently. So all of this is something that we need to move on to the next level. But the problem is when you try and use to clarify things for a certain amount of people, when you start using regular scientific words, you fall into their dogma. So you have to be careful. But things have changed. The whole new breed of people coming up, particularly these people who made their money in the internet, tend to be more open-minded. I saw two people that were very well-known, very wealthy people, and they were talking about how they were getting their ideas by using ayahuasca and other hallucinogens. So they think you can get breakthroughs, and these are not hippy-dippies. This isn't McKenna. I'm seeing, yes, little gremlins, things like this, I'm such a genius. I die of brain cancer at 50. Yeah. Or was it 40? So the whole idea is, these kind of boobs have been babbling this nonsense for years. But the point is, these people are taking all these hallucinogens. Well, it's pretty shocking. If your board of directors came out and said in a giant corporation that they were using ayahuasca and DMT and other things for business purposes, basically you'd probably go through the roof in general. That what are they doing? And I'm not sure that's a good practice either, but it just shows you how wild these people are. And they're getting more and more influential on their own because now they're using primitive AI to actually start companies with only a few people, because all the basic work can now be done for you. They can set up all the things that a company needs automatically, and they just run things. So it means they're more in control, so they're making more of the decisions. Now, this is very common with all this. Where they're using it, and you don't hear that much of it, but it's out there. And here we finally get someone who has a higher consciousness, the Italian physicist Fagon, who again starts to think in a very high level of consciousness and the ultimate combination of man and machine, where you're actually working with it. Now, I've been able to do this myself with the transmutation of particular types of electronic parts. And let's move it out of the way. You can see this here in general. And our machines and our base model is out already, but the new Dragon Force unit will be out very, very soon, and using components simple as this. But this isn't just a amplifier. Not only is this a special amplifier, and we tested probably 15 or 20 amplifiers of this type to find the one that was the best. Quite expensive to get these models, test them, etc. But we did go through them. We found the ones that worked the best, and we then went through the transmutation process. Now, all of my processes are basically proprietary, meaning it's none of your business how I do it. I'm not giving it out to anybody. Those days are gone, as technology is misused and by the worst possible people. So that shouldn't be done. But this is very typical because everything I've ever done has been stolen by others. Or they try and copy, but you can't. First of all, none of my processes can be copied. It's a very unique system of doing things that only I am aware of, and you have to really understand the science behind it. And I give people basic information, but I'm not telling you exactly how the transmutation process works. Just the fact that I have developed on how to put programs directly into the core of a electronic device, and this has happened only in the recent 6 to 8 months, because most of the now electronics out there have what you need to transmute, which is a USB. Now, here's a transmutation plug-in USB that is transmuting the physical electronics at a subatomic level to grab consciousness information, scalar information. So it's very important that people know that. So basically what I'm doing is, as well as I'm feeding in with lasers, I'm also feeding in with lasers into a fiber optic jack that's in these units. Now, all of these actual jacks put into these kind of technologies are pretty recent. Even USBs, which of course have been around for a long time, have not been put into common electronics. This has a USB, this has an optic port, this has a USB and optic port. This has only been happening for the last 6 to 8 months, which allowed me to complete my work to bring it up. So the bottom line is that these are opening up the machines to accept consciousness energies, otherwise known as scalar energies. The other unique thing about scalar energies, which is non-electromagnetic fields, because electromagnetism is a crude energy field, it is the non-electromagnetic, or the scalar, that have awesome power. Now, to understand scalar, which is non-electromagnetic, you can kind of look at pyramid energy. Now, pyramids put out energy. People have even hooked up light bulbs into pyramids in a particular way, and they've been able to light the bulbs. So so scalar energy can be very powerful, and again, it can be transmuted into other energetic forms. This is extremely advanced, and the entire industry known as radionics is basically a pathetic, backward industry that has never done anything in the history of radionics, which is a little over 120 years old. But radionics itself is a very primitive practice, and the problem with it is it's never ever been updated because the practitioners involved in radionics, like in most fields, are kind of simpletons. But radionics in general, a lot of bad people got into it and mucked up the field as we have today. I mean, is there any scientific field really that isn't in bad shape and really gone nowhere? So it takes really a genius consciousness, someone who's reached the state above common human, as myself has through consciousness practices, to understand how to use this kind of energy. And that's very, very important. So we have all these great technologies. We have the revitalization of the vacuum rate tube, which is a very advanced part that has been used for a long time. And once they came up with solid state transistors, they found they didn't need tubes in general. But this is not true because tubes pick up a particular type of resonant energy. So musical instruments, devices, amplifiers, etc. have always used tubes or had that option. Now everybody in the music industry who wants to have that beautiful sound uses tubes. And tubes are now being used everywhere. The computer-based industry find that tubes can move much more information and faster than you can do with basic semiconductors. So there's a whole revitalization of tube technology in general, which is why I use them in all my devices that I can. So this is quite a breakthrough. And the other thing is that the fact of actually using optic energies. Now, carrying information through laser or photons is another way to move mass amounts of information. Now, you've got to remember that the informational energetic fields are huge, packed data fields that can't really be moved by traditional semiconductors and computers in general. There's just too much information. But even the data of today is now becoming too much for your typical semiconductors. So they have to move into either lasers, which apparently they've moved away from, to actually tubes, valves as they call them in Europe. Now, there are many types of these. The Japanese have been making these for many, many years. They also came out with a couple of new type of tubes that someone sent me. And this is going to be the new growth area. And this gives you that resonance, this unusual capacity that the tubes do to kind of give you a much richer sound and everything. Why are they doing that? They're doing that because they are picking up the particular information given to them in a unique way. And this unique way that works with music is also what works with the transfer of scalar energies. Now, scalar energies, again, are non-electromagnetic fields. These non-electromagnetic fields can penetrate anything, and that's another reason why it can work with traditional electronics, is because your scalar energies penetrate everything. Which can be, again, shown as psychic energy fields, or the biophysical, that they can penetrate anything. They can penetrate. They've put people in Faraday cages, and then they've used scalar energies, and they've been able to pick up the energy in Faraday's cage, which keeps all the electromagnetic out. They put people in bank vaults. They put people in submarines, yet the message gets through. This is the power of scalar. The scalar is penetrating these kind of units anyway at a certain level, but it's not enough. So you've got to make sure you're using a very particular type of tube amplification that has been transmutated at a subatomic level through the use of special technologies. We use plates, we use tubes like you see plugged in here, and of course, as I said, we use laser fields, otherwise known as fiber optics. Now, we've had lasers for many years, and of course, the backward radionic industry doesn't know how to use them, just like they don't know how to use tubes or anything else. And this is really sad because really, the entire radionic industry, which is a general term for consciousness machines, is unfortunately really backwards. But this is done deliberately. The powers to be have decided that radionics as a technology is extremely dangerous. So they have taken over the industry, and as they do with a lot of industries, they actually put in bad people to mess up the industry. So what you get coming out of the industry is a bunch of garbage. So this is exactly what happens and what has happened, which has made things very confusing. It's really sad that you see radionic instruments which are produced by even the association in the UK, which are based on basically 70-year-old designs, which are kind of jokey. Not kind of, they are. It's pretty sad you get to that level. But I mean, this is the kind of level, and of course, all these people are involved in the conspiracy to crush this. I'm the only one that is going against this. I'm the only one that has credible information, credible products, credible everything. Just the way it is. If you want to believe others and their lies and buy their little boxes of computerized junk or the garbage produced by really bizarre, strange people who are into very negative paths, that's up to you. Follow fools and you become a fool. It ain't too complicated. But what's happening with that path as well is that you will not be successful. This is the tippy tops, people. This is the, as they say in many places, this is the cherry on top of everything. So the whole idea is we have to remember that. And this technology, which will be entering into the public in a few weeks, basically, you'll be able to see that. We do have already our base models out there. The Elite Professional model, which is doing that. We're moving in with the Dragon Force model very soon, which will have a very large amplifier like this. But you've got to remember that scalar fields generally are weak in nature, and particularly if you want to use them for a particular purpose. So what you really have to do is you have to amplify, and then you need to project that energy out there or transmit it. Now, a lot of people like to give Hieronymus, Galen Hieronymus, because he was an engineer, etc., and made his own machines, and there is a fair amount of data from him, unfortunately. He didn't die young, but I mean, it's been many, many years since he's got. But the point is, he never really had the electronics to do what he needed to do, and he really wasn't versed enough in using tubes, and of course I don't think they even had lasers that were affordable when he was making machines. But he said that his alloptic energy was a scalar field, a non-electromagnetic field. The one thing he had built into his machines was amplifiers, and originally he used tube amplifiers, and that's what he got most of his success with, that he recorded in some books and other people have watched. The other thing he did is he actually had a transmitter in there. He had a small transmitter in there, and he had an antenna onto it. So these are all the things. Of course, we do amplify, then we transmit. This is a transmitter below here, and we're even going to have tube transmitters in the future, but right now what we offer is powerful. And what we can do is transmute this because it has a USB on it, so we can use one of these types of devices to put in the transmitter. So the breakthroughs done by myself, particularly in the last few years here, are endless. And this is the key to ultimate manifestation and changing everything. And that's going to be going down to the fact that you can just about, and I hate to say this because people are so stupid, manifest anything. Now, these are not in any way whatsoever magic lamps. You're not going to rub this, ooh, I want that, genie. It doesn't work like that. Maybe someday we'll be able to get a particular program and something will pop out on the other end, or it will affect an energy field. The bottom line is this kind of energy works best with things like prosperity, protection, building your etheric energy bodies, bringing harmony to your physical body. All of this is what these things are for. They're working on energy fields, they work the best. But again, you want to say that you want to turn lead into gold. Well, you don't need to turn lead into gold directly in front of you. You just turn the energy around you so that you financially, that everything you touch turns to gold, meaning you make the money to buy the gold. So it's kind of silly to think that you jump ahead of that and try and get into physical manifestations. But I don't believe that that is out of the range of this technology in the years to come. This is the first stage of replica technology. This is a replica, it can replicate energies. And then these energies can be projected at yourself and others for whatever you desire. This can build energy forces, fields around you. When you build a field around you, you become a magnet for that energy. So let's say you want to be financially successful. Well, people who are financially successful usually has nothing to do with much of anything else. They're not very intelligent. What they tend to be is lucky. And what is lucky? Well, they have fields around them that attract energy to them of success, which includes people and everything else. So while one person won't get the financing because they don't have the energy fields around them, the other person, even with an inferior product, will get the money because they have the field around them. This is the next science. This is $1 trillion business out there, people. This is the next level of all technologies, is manifesting machines. And eventually everybody will have a handheld manifesting machine. This manifesting machine they will have with their phone and with their personal computer. So these are the three things that man will never leave their house without, I should say. They're going to have these three items, and they're going to be using them in their lives. Now, AI is a particular interesting assist, but it doesn't, it fills in the blanks of the form. In the past, we had computers that just kind of produced the form. You filled in the blanks. Now, these computer systems will fill in the blanks with common information. They cannot work in a consciousness reality unless you're transmuting them. This is critical. So, this is the new technology. This is the $1 trillion business out there that needs to be taken to the next level. The next level is the fact that people can then energize their lives. They use this to harmonize their physical structure. They protect themselves on all that. And we're going into very dangerous times where we have toxic smog and poisons that are injected in us. We need technologies that are going to be much better than the junk we have today. And even those with lots of money, there's a long list of very wealthy people who died of all sorts of problems because they didn't really have any tech. What they did do is go to the quote experts, unquote, in the field, and they assisted their death quicker, basically, is what it comes down to. But these are all the areas that this kind of technology can work with. And once you start doing this, and once you start controlling the energies, you can, as I said, not only can you create this putting together and building energy, you can also use it in reverse and actually take the energy or actually deconstruct or pull apart an energy field. So it not only can build, it also can pull things apart. Now, this could be used in many types of ways. If you take the energy out of, let's say, a giant fire, it will stop burning, or the intensity of it will be so low that it'll be easily extinguished. These are the kind of amazing things that this technology is just waiting to get involved in. And you out there are able to now get a base start in this area as we continue to develop the most critical part of all this. It's not just the hardware. Hardware is only, it's an important part of it, but I would say the hardware maybe is 40%, maybe. It's the 60% of the software. After all, you can have the finest built computer, fast as can be, lots of memory, and it just sits there. It doesn't do anything. Yeah, because there's no software. You have to use it for something. So the bottom line is we have this software that we're doing. Now we have ways to get the software into the internal consciousness of the machine itself. And machines have a certain level of consciousness. And this can be empowered through this process. So you actually go in and send that energy into it to actually start getting the technology to take your thought forms, your scalar energy fields, your consciousness, and work with it. But again, This is something that has to come from the human. But you have to, it goes with the new technology I have with the tubes and the lasers. We're now working from the inside out, which is really exciting. But we also work from the outside in with particular types of energy disks, which again transmute everything. They will transmute the energy, as simple as that. So, this is the critical part, and this technology is only known to me because I'm the only one that has been given this information, has developed it over 40 years of research, a fortune spent, and God knows how many man hours put into this. But it takes a consciousness at a very high level to understand all this. And if you get brainwashed through going to MIT, you're going to build a bunch of common electronics, regardless of how well made or you've made some improvements on it. You're not getting past it because you don't understand this kind of thinking and technology. It took people like, I think it's Federico Fagan, to understand the consciousness which in these machines and his books and others. I'll be reviewing his books and talking about him more coming up. What happens here is not necessarily that he gets it, and he does get it more than anybody else, but it is the fact that as everything that I've done, third parties have confirmed all my research and continue. Just like everything I state and everything else, none of it is made up. There are third parties confirming everything that I have stated. And all of my technology. So while other people are dealing with the most ridiculous, silly stuff, which is 1920s radionic technology from Abrams or even Ruth Drown, who came in the 50s or whatever, all of these things are nothing more than psychic tuners. And it's amazing how this can be relatively powerful. But it is not at a level that we want to stay at. We need machine-assisted empowerments because we cannot function as humans at high levels for long periods of time. As humans, we have feet and hands so that we can do many, many tasks, which you have to have a certain physicality to do anything in life. The other thing is the fact is that we as humans, because we are fragile and pretty much inferior in the animal world, we make tools. With tools, we make machines. That's the reality out there that everybody has to understand. And this is the next level, people. It's so far advanced, so far ahead of everybody else, that it is shocking. Until next time.